before you watch this, I recommend you watch my other video on Saori Sato titled Strange Anime Game You've Never Heard of, so that you can understand this video. Thanks.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the ultimate Saori Sato iceberg. I made a video on this game entirely covering the story and everything behind it that no one really knows in another video called The Strange Anime Game You've Never Heard of. However, I didn't cover every single detail, and I'm going to cover it in this iceberg. Here's the iceberg that I made with the help of another iceberg as well as my old iceberg. I kind of combined the two and picked out the best topics that are very relevant to the topics that I think would do good on this iceberg. Here are some people that contributed to this iceberg here. Thank you to all of you for letting me use this iceberg in order to reorganize and reconstruct my original iceberg to be a lot more detailed. Okay, sorry, enough talking. Let's start with tier 1. First up on the list, we got Yandere Schoolgirls Online. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just the name of the game that Saori Sato as well as Schoolgirl AI go as. Those two are in the same game, which is named Yandere Schoolgirls Online. It's basically what the game is called as of right now. Next up is Schoolgirl AI. Schoolgirl AI is just one of the options you have in Yandere Schoolgirls Online. It's like a game mode, I guess you can say, but instead of story mode, it's kind of a mode where you can do whatever you want, create your own worlds, join different worlds. As the description of Schoolgirl AI says, it's basically a sandbox multiplayer game. It also has some very intricate features and very unique customization. Sora. Sora is your pet cat. I'm sure everybody knows this, which is why it's on the first tier, but it's just your pet cat, and I guess you can say it's kind of like Sayori's companion because she's a supervisor and the cat carries a camera. So I kind of just assumed that maybe the cat is there just to be cute or serve some little surveillance footage for herself, as well as, I don't know, she doesn't really have a role in the game, but it's just your pet cat. Okay, next up on the list we got Sakura. Now Sakura is just your horse. She's really cute, but she doesn't really have a role in the game. It's honestly sad how little I have to say about her. She's just a horse that you can either mount or just leave in the map as she just stands there. Dream Village. Dream Village is your neighborhood. It's where you live. It has changed over the years, but we'll get to that later on in this iceberg. But Dream Village is where you live. It's your community. It hosts Sayori's house as well as many other houses. Loyalty points. Loyalty points are what you use. Well, you redeem them in the main menu under the loyalty tab in order to enter a specific building. And this building is called Building G. It's always been like this. You always had to have a certain amount of loyalty points in order to go into this building. I believe you need like, I don't know, 10 or 12 loyalty points to enter. I know a lot of people don't really like loyalty points because it takes some time, but it's honestly not too bad. So yeah, that's what loyalty points are. They're just kind of like a fake currency that allows you to enter a building. Sayama Forest. Sayama Forest is a forest within the game. This forest is very vast. It's kind of weirdly built, but it's pretty cool. Sayama Forest is not very important, but it is important in some type of aspect because there are quests that you need to complete in this map. Chaotic controls. Okay, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Chaotic controls is basically the aspect of the game that sucks, which is controlling your character or clicking stuff or viewing stuff, trying to navigate through the game. It just kind of sucks, honestly. It's not the best navigation, the best controls, and a lot of people complain about the game being very confusing because of this. Very complicated. Especially if you're playing for the first time, you're not gonna get it. I promise you that. For me, I can navigate, I can control it now because I'm used to it, but sometimes I still can't control it because I don't play Schoolgirl AI. I can't navigate Schoolgirl AI. I can't. But anyways, now that you know what chaotic controls means, let's move on to the next one. Multiplayer. Multiplayer is just the concept of you have multiplayer. You can play with other people. It's an open global thing, you know, open chat. And you can play with people that you don't even know. Multiplayer just refers to a the basic multiplayer server type deal. Multiplayer is in both Saori Sato's story mode and also in Schoolgirl AI, so you can be with people no matter what game mode you're playing. Yellow names. For this one, I actually didn't know it existed, or I didn't really know what it meant, so one of my Discord friends taught me about it, which is basically a new player in multiplayer servers will have a yellow name. The purpose of this is to make sure other players that are not new know that they are new, so that if they bully them, they will get kicked. Again, I don't play multiplayer that much, so I didn't know, so thank you, Mina. Discord. Discord basically refers to the Discord server that this game has, the official Discord server ran by the developer. Before you join it though, I'd recommend you finish this video because I don't know if you're gonna wanna support that later on. Anyways, this Discord server has some deleted content, it has some updates and all that type of stuff that a game should have. Saori Sato, the main character of the game, that's who Saori is. She's a green-haired girl, she's a high school student, but she's also a supervisor, so she has two roles in this game and you play as her. You get to live her life and you get to see what she uncovers and experiences in this horrible, horrible school. Next up we got Midori Lin. So Midori, I don't know if any of you thought of Midori Gurin from Yandere Simulator. I did, that's for sure, because that's the only place I heard Midori from, but no, this is not Midori Gurin, this is Midori Lin. She has yellow hair instead of green hair, and she's a completely different character. She is actually the love interest of Saori Sato, but you don't have to have her as a love interest, it's just one of the ones you could have. She plays a very huge role in helping you with this story mode as well as saving you at one point. And there's also something going around that Midori was actually inspired by a fan of the game, by the developer himself, but this fan was underage. Bruh. So have that as you will. That that it's a little creepy, but it's only gonna get creepier from here. So trust me on that. But yeah, that's something that is going around and I honestly believe it. Misa Hinasaki. So I don't think she was inspired by anyone in real life. However, she is one of the other important characters. She doesn't have as much importance as Midori, but she is still very cool and she has some quests for you and one of the characters that the developer added to start with. She's also a option to date instead of Midori, which, yeah, this game sounds like a dating game now, but it's not. And that's just the problem of this game. It's has so much unnecessary stuff in it, but there's only more unnecessary stuff coming up, so. Yeah, Misa Hinasaki. She's blue-haired. We don't know much of her personality or troubles yet because she doesn't really elaborate on what she's going through. Fan art. Fan art is basically what it reads as. People drawing characters from this game in their own art style, which is so cool. I love fan arts. I love art in general. I have my whole room displayed with art that I made. Okay, sorry, I'm getting off topic, but yeah. Fan art, it's really cool. You could find some on Google, it's awesome. Some of them you could find even on Pinterest, which I found some. I'm not sure if they're all credited to the correct artist, however, they are there and they're so good and I love it. Risa Yuri. So Risa is actually the first teacher that we talk to. She's our first mentor in the game. She helps us with our quests, helps us find the stuff we need. She's a little bit reserved and we don't know much of her personality yet. You can also flirt with Risa, but I don't really... It's so stupid. Like, why is it an option to flirt with everybody? But yeah, you can flirt with her, but I don't think it goes anywhere. Customization/shop. This one refers to the shop that is in this game. You can use to customize your character and wear different outfits, different hairstyles, different eye colors, etc. There is an option to change your this, but I don't know why it's an option, but like I said, it only gets weirder. Okay, now we're done with tier 1. Let's go to tier 2. The first one up is MMD videos. So, about this one, I actually can't find them anymore. They used to be on YouTube. Anyway, it was just animations of 3D model renders of the Saori Sato characters, especially Midori. Midori was used a lot. As you can see in this little thumbnail that I used for the tier, this was from one of the MMD videos I remember watching, but I can't find them anymore. I even tried looking on the Wayback Machine, but I still can't find anything, so sorry about that. I can't show you what it was, but to put it simply, it was just Saori Sato models doing vines. That's basically what it was. Barrier bypass. This refers to basically glitching through walls, glitching through areas, breaking the barrier in which you just kind of walk through or fly through barriers in the game. People use these glitches to get into places that they can't get in, or they just, I don't know, find secret rooms and they just kind of glitch in these areas, and it's harmless, of course, but it's not how the game was intended to be played. Even though the barriers are the developer's fault for, lazily making the game. If the game was well made, the barriers wouldn't be that easy to break. But anyways, next one, Sake Yumi. Sake is one of the students at Sayama High School, and she provides some quests for us that we can do regarding customization, which is leg warmers. However, her quest is a little bit hidden, I guess you can say. A lot of people don't find the quest, so that's why I'd like to mention her in this iceberg. Schoolgirl AI Online Simulator YouTube. So that's a long name, I know, but that refers to the official YouTube channel of the game Schoolgirl Supervisor Saori Sato. This YouTube channel hosts many videos and history of the game's development. I actually used this channel for my video making an overview of the game, but yeah, this YouTube channel has stuff dating from 8 years ago to now. The current videos on this YouTube channel consist of remake updates and design ideas, which probably don't make much sense to you because I haven't spoke about the remake yet, but I will later on. Scouters. Scouters are a little gadget. It's kind of like a half glasses type of thing that goes on your character. You earn a scouter after you start your first shift, and this scouter allows you to see NPC names very easily. Their names, when you use the scouter, will appear on top of their heads, so you know exactly who they are. And actually in previous versions, it would show, I believe, their next class and other information about them, like their temperature. I don't know why. You can actually get an extension for your scouter, meaning you would have 2 scouters, one for each of your eyes. However, if you do get the extension, that means you could see their menstrual cycle. I know, that's so weird, but keep in mind, whatever I say, it gets even worse. iOS map. This is a map that is only found in Apple devices, such as an iPhone, an iPad. The reason why it's only found in iOS devices is because of App Store violation guidelines. I will get into this later on in the iceberg because it is a very major thing for this game's history, but to put it very simply, just for now, the iOS App Store does not allow certain things on this game. So, in order for the developer to hide this game and their quests and everything else that's hidden in it, they decided to add a map. This map is what you first spawn in. Even right now, if you download this game on your iPhone, you will spawn in this exact map here. But don't be fooled. This is not the right map. This is just a cover-up for the iOS App Store. This iOS map is way more plain than the main map, which is actually surprising. I didn't think it would get even more plain. This map has nothing to do, really. There's not even a quest option. Usually there's a quest option on your top left screen. Yes, the NPCs still spawn, but there's really no point because you can't do their quests in this map. This is, to put it simply, a very pointless map. However, in order to locate and get into the main map, you need to go in the building and go to the second floor. There, you will see 2 doors on your left side, and you need to go into the second door, which is the first brown door, and you will find a green box. This green box is a teleporter to the main map, and that is how you get to the main map. Yeah, that's basically what the iOS map is. It's really ugly, really stretched. All the textures are stretched, making it look super blurry. It's just a cover-up. Next one we got is clans. I've never been in a clan before in this game. However, it's a type of feature that that you can do in order to join a type of community. These clans can be created and you can join them. The clan leaders would have to accept your request for joining, and it's pretty cool. There's a leaderboard for it and everything, and I actually saw Kaori cord. That's pretty cool. But anyways, yeah, that's what clans are. They're not very important to the game, but pretty cool to be part of a little community like that. And I believe you do get a flag for your character to showcase, show pride that you're in a clan. Next up, we got Saya Jean. So Saya is actually one of the other teachers/mentors. She's not on the first tier because she comes later on in the storyline, and she helps us with one of the most traumatic things that happens in the game, which I'll get to. There's not much I can say about Saya, but yeah, she's one of our mentors. She helps us with quests. Her personality isn't very clear, so like I said, nothing much to say about her. Saori Sato remake. I know I didn't mention story mode in this iceberg. That's because I'm assuming you know what the story mode is, but if you don't, like I said, you should go watch my other video. Not trying to advertise it or anything, but seriously, you would understand this way better. What happened was, we don't know exactly what's gonna happen in the future for this game, and we really, as a fan base, we kind of wanted to see how the game would end up, how the story mode would end. But we didn't get that because the developer had other plans and started to, make other games. But, it was kind of sad. But now we actually are getting a Saori Sato remake, meaning it's gonna be a whole new game, a whole new premise, I believe, but it's gonna remain the same with the characters. If you're curious on this remake progress, you can go to the official YouTube channel, like I already mentioned, and also you can go see it on their official Discord server. There's now AI voice acting, which I don't know, I don't think I like it. There's a couple other things that I don't really like about the remake, but I'll get to that later on.
Most people are alone in this world. They are alone even when they are with somebody. Because that's how most people are. Watch out. Supervisor Sato.
Next thing up, we have Kaito Yoshida. I hope I said that name right. Excuse me if I didn't. Kaito refers to a student that goes to Sayama High School. And I know what you're thinking, this character looks very masculine for a girls-only high school. However, I actually don't know much about this character. Their story and purpose is not clear. They never really got a story or a background at all. They're just kind of in the game as an NPC, so there's really not much I can say. I just wanted to mention this character because they are the only masculine looking character in this game. This character is actually planned to stay for the remake, so we might get a story about them. I don't know yet. Character redesigns. Oh gosh. So this is actually referring also to the remake. The game maker is redesigning every single character very excessively. The characters are gaining so much items on their models, and it just, oh my gosh, just look at some of these. I'm just saying, I don't know about you watching, but hey, do you think this is too much for an NPC? Because honestly, it feels very busy. I feel like the NPCs before this were way better than this. Call me crazy, but I feel like the old NPCs were way more memorable, and it just kind of feels like the game developer is trying too hard to make these characters unique. Yes, I'm all open for unique characters, of course, but I don't know, it just seems like too much. It's a lot. Some of these characters don't have major changes. Some of them actually didn't change as much as the others. However, there are some that changed completely, like they just don't look like their old model anymore. But anyways, that's really all I have to say about the character redesigns. I don't want to talk too much about it. Next up, we have New Dream Village. Dream Village went from having just one house, which was Sayori's house, to having multiple houses in this spirally neighborhood, to what is now currently as, which is Sayori's house on a hill isolated from every other house. And these other houses in question are very rusty looking apartment buildings that do not look as nice as Sayori's house. Outfit plus plus. This refers to the extended outfit customization that you can have on this game. Some of these customization outfits are actually uploaded by different players, so it's kind of a way to share outfit designs and wear them as well. Personally, I really like to use Outfit Plus Plus. It's pretty cool. I feel like it has more detail. This Outfit Plus Plus option is only available on the current game that we have, which is Yandere Schoolgirls Online. At a glance, it does look very confusing. There's a lot of words everywhere and it's kind of compact, but you basically download the assets, which could take some time, and then you choose which asset that you're trying to wear, which, for example, here I chose Blazer Winter Default, and when clicking on it, you click Apply S and Apply U, S being stockings and U being uniform. Schoolgirl Supervisor Wildlife. This is the previous game that I mentioned before regarding Dream Village. Basically, Wildlife was one of the earlier versions of the game, and you can, like I said, you can still get it on the App Store, but it's not as advanced as Yandere Schoolgirls Online because it hasn't been updated to match everything. If you plan on playing Wildlife, I recommend you could, but it doesn't have all the quests, so if you really want to get the full experience of how far the story goes, you should play Yandere Schoolgirls Online. But it is really cool to play Wildlife because of how different it is. Abnormal map. I added abnormal map because I feel like one of the most prominent features in this game is the map and how it's laid out and made. The map feels very strange. It kind of feels unfamiliar yet familiar at the same time. Some places have really high hills, other places have really low dips, and it's that's what I'm saying, abnormal map. It's not really something you would see in a regular game. This can be said for just about anywhere as long as you're outside, because outside for some reason has very weird imagery. The only place that I would think is somewhat normal is Saori's house, but that's only because it's a Unity asset, which is basically a pre-made house that they just put in the game. Natsumi Nomura. Natsumi is one of the characters also that kind of relates to the quest of getting loose socks or leg warmers. In order to get leg warmers from Sakeyumi, she has us destroy Natsumi's speakers in her own house. So in reality, we had to break into Natsumi's house to break all her speakers, which, yeah, that's really messed up. I mean, we did it for leg warmers, so, I mean, at least they're cute on us. Natsumi is not very important, but I decided to add her in here because it's just part of the quest. She's actually a really cool character. She's always jamming out to her music on her headphones, and I kind of wish we got more of her and her personality. Current background track. When entering a building, specifically the school buildings, you'll hear a background track, and this song is basically the background music of the game. I'm playing it for you right now so you can hear if you don't know what I'm talking about. This is actually the current song, so there's actually different songs that I'm going to be going over. You can actually change the song. There's, I think, 2 options. This is what the other one sounds like. These are not the soundtracks that were originally in the game. They're actually kind of new. I'll be going over the original song later on as well. No Way. No Way is the name that the developer of this game goes by. Most of the fan base knows the developer by No Way, even though he does have some other names, but I'll be going over that later on. But yeah, No Way is just the name of the creator of the game. Ran Aima. Ran Aima is another character in the game that helps you out with your questing. She gives you a blindfold because you need a blindfold for some reason, I don't know. She gives you a blindfold in exchange for a picture of a very rare butterfly. Other than this, she doesn't have much to her, and that's really all I can say about her. Placeholders. In the older versions of this game, whenever you spoke to an NPC that didn't really have coding yet, it would say placeholder in the dialogue, and it was just kind of like a way to tell you, hey, this game isn't finished yet, that's why there's no dialogue. This placeholder effect can also say not yet implemented, which is something, it's basically the same message telling you that this game isn't finished yet, and whatever you're trying to do, it's not yet accomplishable. The topic of placeholders can also be said about NPCs. Some of these NPCs were not needed. They were just there as placeholders for future character designs. Okay, so on to the next one. Before anything, I just realized I added loyalty points twice, so sorry about that. Let's just skip this one because I already talked about it in the first tier. Discipline project. The project in question is a hallway and 2 classrooms that are filled with toilets, bathtubs, toilet paper, etc. Things that would be found in a bathroom. And the purpose of this was to spread discipline. They would discipline students if they did something wrong by essentially humiliating them in front of other students as they had to use the bathroom in front of others. And yes, that sounds very horrible, I know. We'll get more into it later on. The last thing on this tier is ID cards. ID cards have been in this game for as long as I can remember. Each student has an ID card, and you, being the supervisor, can access these cards just by requesting it after you speak to them. These ID cards consist of the student's name, gender, place of birth, personality, sex orientation, and record history. And you'll notice here on the bottom right that there's a QR code. When scanning it, you'll be brought to the official website for the game. Saori herself has an ID card as well, except some of the stuff on her ID card is protected, unlike the rest of the students. We are now done with tier 2. Hopefully you're catching up pretty well. I hope I'm not confusing you or anything. Now let's start tier 3. First up, we got nostalgic scenery. I put this here because I feel like players often overlook the way this game has nostalgic factors in it. Especially if you are a long-term player, which, like me, I've been playing for a while now, and all of this scenery is very nostalgic. And even if you haven't played this like your whole life, it's still arguably very nostalgic. I mean, just the way the map is laid out and the surroundings in general, the environment is very familiar. Kind of reminds me, I know this is kind of cringe, but kind of like a Dream Core type of game, especially Dream Village. Original soundtrack. You know, I've always loved this soundtrack. I think it's the best soundtrack there is to this game. I'm playing it for you right now so you can get to hear it. I'm not sure why the creator removed this original soundtrack. I kind of wish they didn't, but it's actually called Be Yourself by GTK, and I found this from Occultist because Occultist linked a Spotify playlist regarding Saori Sato music. So thank you for that. Days Alive. Days Alive is from Saori Sato Wildlife and every version before that. Before Yandere Schoolgirls Online, we had, like I said, different versions of the game. These older versions kind of forced you to take care of Saori and help her survive day by day. You would help her survive by feeding her every day and, taking her to the bathroom and all that type of stuff. If you fail to take care of Saori and her cat, then both of them will die. But the good thing is that you can always revive her whenever you want, but the days alive will be 0 if you die. So it's kind of like a thing you have to keep up. The longer you have Saori alive, the more days alive you will have. Right now, days alive is irrelevant. We don't use it anymore. It's not a feature in the present version. The next one we have is Kimi Nakano's Secret. Kimi is one of the photography club members in the game. She's on here because she promises a secret to us right after we get her approval to join the photography club. But the thing is, we never knew what her secret was because it was never revealed. The game developer didn't follow up with that quest. Although there is a few theories of what her secret was, and it probably could refer to Akane, which I know I haven't spoke about her yet, but she's coming up pretty soon. Kimi's secret is something we don't know, and it's very haunting to know that we probably won't hear her secret anytime soon. Next, we got Tactical Schoolgirls. This is one of the spin-off games for Saori Sato, and it's one of my favorites. This game follows Saori as she's kind of like a missionary girl with weapons trying to steal treasure, basically. It doesn't have a full story, it's just kind of like a shooting game. I really like this game. It's very nostalgic. I used to play it all the time, and I actually got like all gold medals for every single level at one point. point. But other than that, it's nothing really related to Saori. It's just you kind of play as Saori and that's it. It could be also linked to Saori's past because she had to go through a specific type of training in order to be a supervisor. Broken schedule / spawn. In the game, you'll see a option that says clock on the very top of the screen. When you click it, it shows a schedule for all the classes and also for the times. However, the time doesn't move at all, and neither do the classes. So basically, the time is frozen and the classes don't exist. It's just kind of there for no reason. And there's also a spawn everybody button on the side, and when you click on it, it doesn't work. It only works in Schoolgirl Supervisor Wildlife. I'm not sure why it changed or why it doesn't work anymore, but it's not important, so it's just something everybody ignores in the game. Akane Maki. Akane is probably one of the strangest things in this game. The whole situation, at least, it's just crazy. Akane is a girl that we find very unexpectedly in a room that requires a keycard to get in. When entering this room, you find Akane chained up and in a very uncomfortable position, as you can see here. We end up freeing her from her chains, and we demand more information, like who the freak are you and how did you get in here? Akane promises to tell us all the info that we want to know if we played a trust game, which included us being locked in the same room, handcuffed and duct taped and blindfolded, as Akane left the room for a couple minutes. We are ended up being freed by Midori, but when trying to find Akane, she's found dead. She's been beheaded in one of the classrooms, and well, we don't know who did it, and we probably won't know for a while because the game is not finished. But after this, everything goes even more downhill, and Saori eventually finds herself stuck in an Akane Maki rabbit hole. That's really all I can say about Akane Maki before I say too much about the story. She was a previous supervisor, and she was a member of the photography club. She had a reputation of being very understanding. However, she could be very, very strict if you got on her bad side. Guillotine. The guillotine is, well, a guillotine in the school. Yeah, there's a guillotine in the school. Did I tell you that already? Why? Well, that will become apparent later on, but you can find this guillotine in some of the versions of this game. Some of the versions don't have it at all. It was actually removed. Does it work? No. Did it work at one point? Yes. Don't worry, I'm gonna elaborate on that later on. The next one is medal transfer. Medal transfer refers to Tactical Schoolgirls, which is the shooting game that I just told you about. When you got a medal, you collected them in your data, and you were actually able to transfer your medals to Schoolgirl Supervisor Saori Sato. And when you did this, you were able to buy stuff for your character. It was kind of like currency, essentially. Keep in mind also that medal transfer was only available for Android devices and it never worked for iOS. But that's okay, you don't have to worry about that. Medals are not used anymore. Kazuha Shizuku. This is a character in the game that was in the older versions, and it's actually not a person. It's a 3D hologram to quote-unquote serve its master, which is you. Kazuha provides information on the game, such as where to buy cat food and stuff like that. Just information that would be essential to your game experience. For me personally, I feel like this character is kind of eerie. She's just there and she's just always alone, and it's kind of it's like she's like a Terminator that can turn any second and kill me or something. Anyways though, this character isn't used in the present day. She's actually scrapped, so she doesn't exist anymore. She only exists in wildlife. Crane. The crane represents a crane that you can find in the front schoolyard. It's very tall and it's orange, so you really can't miss it. It's in one of the little cage areas. This crane, and I kid you not, is used to transport executed bodies into the trash bins on the other side of the wall. Yeah, and the other side looks very unpleasant. There's a bunch of red substance. I wonder what that is. This also connects to a laptop. If you go up on the stairs, it has an option to activate, and when you press it, it moves the crane. So does this crane have a use in the story? No, not at all. Similarly to the guillotine, and, you know, it's just there. But it does still work though. So it's not like it was removed or belittled in any way. You could still use it. Schoolgirl Supervisor Anime. This was one of the first games that this developer set out onto the App Store. It looks very, very significantly different from what we have now. Saori's house was a little different and she didn't have a neighborhood at all. The dialogue options were a bit different as well. The school itself especially was very different. It didn't have a yard and it wasn't as big. And also it had a completely different story going on. If you look at the YouTube video surrounding this Schoolgirl Supervisor anime version on the official YouTube channel, you'll find gameplay. And in the gameplay, they find a lot of things that are similar to what we have now, but different enough to know, okay, this isn't the same story. So all I can really say is that SS Anime, which is Saori Sato Anime, showcased a very early vision of what the developer wanted. Photography club. This is a club in the school that revolves around, well, photography. Besides all the photography framed on the walls in their office in building B, 4th floor, there isn't much else to say about this club. There are a few members, the leader being Kaori Osaka. The representative leader is named Ayaka Shimizu. The 3 remaining members are Kimi Nakano, Fukumi Ikeda, and Aiko Azami. Hopefully I said those right. The rules for this club consist of mainly respecting the leader in every single way possible. And as I mentioned before, Akane used to be part of this club. In fact, if you go to the photography room, you'll find a photograph that was taken by Akane. Despite this, however, it's still very speculated that the photography club had something to do with Akane's death. Aimi Nagane or Nagani, I'm not sure how to say it, but this is who she is. Despite the fact that she doesn't have any dialogue if we try talking to her, she still is found in the story, which is the night shift. During your night shift on Monday night, when you go to the pool area, you'll find her there. Which is not good because all students are not allowed at school when it's nighttime, especially during night shifts. And she has a stroller with a monkey plushie in it. She refers to this monkey as baby girl, and she seems to have a very connected relationship with this monkey. She pretends it's a real baby, or in other words, pretends it's a living thing and she has to take care of it in some way. She's the girl that you want to talk to if you want to do the pacifier quest, which is a quest where you can find pacifiers, and in return, this quest allows you to wear pacifiers for your character's avatar. So it's kind of like a customization quest. However, she does promise to tell us something the next time we hang out, and it seems kind of serious. It's kind of like a little secret that she has to tell us. But unfortunately, due to the really bad storyline continuation cancellation stuff, we never got to see what she wanted to tell us. Incident at toilet. This refers to, I believe it's in building B, 2nd floor. It's basically graffiti on the wall. It has a bunch of cuss words. It's basically cussing out the supervisor. And we don't know which supervisor. We doubt it's us because, well, we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't have an altercation with anyone else. So we're thinking maybe it was targeted towards someone else, but, you know, we don't really know. There's really no story behind it. All we do is we end up putting cameras in the bathrooms. Not in the stalls, of course. That would be creepy, but knowing the developer, I feel like he would do that. But, you know, surprisingly, no, not in the stalls, but in the center ceiling of the bathrooms. Night shift. This refers to the night shift that we have to accomplish as the supervisor of the Sayama High School. This night shift requires us to go in all the buildings in a specific order, however, and sign off on all the boards on every floor. And we also encounter other weird altercations in the night shift, but I'll go over that later on in the iceberg. This night shift is very, I would say, very lonely and almost horrifying because you don't know what to expect. It's a new setting. Well, technically it's the same setting, but it's, nighttime, and all you have to accompany you is a little flashlight. There's nobody else here, it's just you. A lot of people who play this game recall this night shift being very scary for them. I felt the same way. I still feel the same way. Even though I already know what's going to happen, I feel like something new will come out of nowhere. Blood Forest. This is a part of the Sayama forest that is completely red. Literally, just look at this. It's just completely red compared to everywhere else in the forest. It's the only red place. Now, when I first saw this place, I personally felt it wasn't blood. I thought it was just the way nature looks during autumn season, how leaves turn red and such. But it doesn't really make any sense for this only to be red and nothing else. It could be a certain type of red tree that stays red all year, and the only thing I can think of is it might be those Japanese maple trees, which would make the most sense. As of right now, there's nothing that really proves or suggests in the story or in the game entirely that this is a blood forest, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. The only referencing that we get from the game for this forest area is from Fukumi, who basically tells you to go find her lost lunchbox that's in that place, and she describes it as being pretty red there. Unused characters. If you do a side-by-side comparison of the names of the NPCs in the older version, which is in Wildlife, and the NPCs in the current version, which is Yandere Schoolgirls, you'll notice a slight contrast between the two. Some of these characters share the same names exactly, maybe spelled a little differently. However, some of these characters have the same first name, but not the same last name. Now, I know maybe you feel like this doesn't qualify as an unused character because technically he did use them, as in using their first name. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, I still feel like they are unused characters. They had different names. And on top of that, they looked completely different as well. Survival Simulator Multiplayer. This is a whole different game made by the same developer of Saori Sato. However, unlike Tactical Schoolgirls, I don't think this game has anything to do with the correlation of Saori Sato herself. I only say this because, what is it called again? Survival Simulator Multiplayer doesn't mention Saori at all in its description. Yes, I know, they still use the green-haired girl, anime girl, but really, does that mean it's Saori? I mean, everybody is spawned with green hair, ponytail. It's just basically the generic anime girl Unity asset that they're using. It doesn't really have a significance. There's no character to it. This game is basically a shooting game. You have to take down some zombies. It's really gross. I thought I'd mention this game because it looks like it could be correlated to Saori Sato, but I just wanted to add it just to clarify with you. Bloody arm. Man, to this day, I still don't know where this bloody arm came from. There's no story behind it. It's really just a bloody arm that you find by the crane's trash bin. Since it doesn't have like a story behind it or explanation on why it's there, I could only really conclude that it was only added there for effect. Just to kind of scare you a bit, kind of give you like a, oh shoot, blood. Oh man, that's really something. I mean, if there's a bloody arm here, you could only really say that maybe they disposed of somebody that was killed. I don't know, but we don't do much about it, and our character doesn't question it at all. So we're kind of just there to, I guess, normalize it, even though it shouldn't be normalized, because, well, you're a supervisor. You should know exactly what this means, or you should know, is somebody doing something bad? Is this a crime scene? We don't do anything about it. We just dispose of it properly. Maybe, just maybe, in the future, we might get some type of explanation for this arm, but for now, we don't have an explanation. Basement B. Now, this is probably one of my favorite places in the game. Basement B basically refers to the fact that there's an entire prison under the school. Yeah. You heard me right. There's a prison under the school. I mean, maybe it's not a fully functioning, prison, but if you can count a place that has cells and isolation chambers, a prison, that's basically what we have under this school. Under all the flowers and butterflies, we have this. It's really unsettling to be down here because there's no background music. There's just a very strange ambience. There isn't anything to do except open doors and view the most messed up stuff. There are cameras everywhere, and I mean everywhere, even in front of, this. I could only really tell you that the developer might be a bit crazy. No, actually scratch that. He might be really crazy. Actually scratch that. He is really crazy. I'll get to him later on, don't worry. But yeah, this place is very strange. They have cells, they have cages, they have isolation chambers, just as I mentioned before. There are a bunch of signs that say, do not enter, no entry, and it kind of makes you feel like they're hiding something. The only thing that they're hiding is the fact that there are no morals in this basement. This place has some very weird structure. There seems to be a fascination with toilets and cameras together, which is not good. The average person who has who's actually right in the head can tell you that's not okay. Overall, this place has no quests. There's nothing to do here. Like I said, there is no significance. So why is it here? In my opinion, I feel like the reason why this is here is because of two reasons. One, it was planned to have a story. I feel like the developer wanted to use this basement sometime but never got to it but made it anyways. And second, I feel like this was added to kind of hint to the player, to tell them, hey, this is not a normal game. This is not a normal school. But again, that's just my opinion. Sphere Skill Tree. Man, I haven't heard that name in a long while. This skill tree basically helps you learn more skills, basically upgrading your character in a way you would use your XP to unlock certain areas. The skills on the tree in question were not very important, meaning you didn't have to unlock all the skills. The only one that you really had to unlock was the Unlocking Ordinary Locks skill, in which the skill allowed you to complete the quest of finding the teddy bear with the knife in the storage room. I believe it was storage room A. It's not used anymore, so it's an old feature. It was scrapped. Now you have to buy skills with loyalty points. Just buying the skills is way easier. Ayumi Haru. Ayumi is the girl who we find responsible for the discipline project. Remember the floor with all the toilets and bathtubs and all the other stuff? Apparently, that was her idea. Us being Saori, we are very curious, so we ask her about it. She tells us it was her and her friend Miku's idea. No, not Hatsune Miku, Miku Salami. Ayumi wants us to take 50 Basement B photos and share them to her. In exchange, she would tell us a secret that would quote-unquote blow our mind. When we do this, the secret she tells us is basically that she used to be friends with Akane. You know, the girl that we found isolated in that room. Ayumi tells us that the discipline project was all Akane's idea, so take that as you will. Ayumi also does other things to help us out with finding out Akane's history, but that comes later on in the iceberg. Kaori Osaka. Like I mentioned before, Kaori is the leader of the photography club. Within the photography group, she is very well respected. She's the one that we ask to join the photography club, and she's the one who directs us to every single member of the photography club in order to get every single person's permission to join. Kaori's final task for us in order to join the photography club is to solve a chess riddle. She might know Akane, she might not, but considering the fact that Akane was in the group, there's a good chance that they know each other or knew each other.